Today is Tuesday, March 31st, 2015. I'd like to title this rant, Mike Pence's Prejudicial Piccadilly Circus, because he certainly has made this thing into a complete circus with the big top, with the tent, with all the exotic animals and everything else that's going around. I have sort of held back on this thing just to see where it would go. It seems to me it's come full circle because of today, about 12 o'clock on Tuesday, Mike Pence has gone back to, as announced, and had a press conference this morning where he talked about how the law was smeared, how it was mischaracterized, that he has absolutely no doubt that the law does not have any type of animus towards anyone who is gay or bisexual, transgender, etc., etc. That he has been and the state have been maligned by outside interests coming in. But forget all about that stuff. So obviously there's a couple things. Number one is that what is the legislature going to redo? Are they going to do it and be very, very specific that the law does not allow for any type of prejudice towards anyone who is gay or bisexual, and that any type of, let's just say, business owner does not have the right to discriminate against anyone of that type, let's just say. And we'll see how they try and word it, see if they want to get back in on the sly, or if they're going to say, hey, we've got to come clean on this thing and we got to bite the bullet. All right, so that's one aspect of it. Second aspect of it is about Mike Pence. Mike Pence is a super gay hater. He's been that way for a long time. He was against gays in the military, pretty adamant against it. And when he was on George Stephanopoulos, asked him specifically if he would exclude that language from that, and he basically said no. So that's the type of person Mike Pence is. Now, the third thing about all of that is the fact that they actually thought that they could get away with this whole thing. They knew it was blatant. I would bet you money that you go back into those emails, they knew that they were going to stick it to those people. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly what the law was saying. They knew exactly why they wanted to do it. And they felt that their shit didn't stink, and that it might be a little bit of a pushback, but they would push back against it, indicating that this is not that mischaracterized, maligned, smeared, all that other stuff. The blowback would stop real quick after that. Obviously, they were extremely mistaken. And again, this sort of goes to some of the Republican premises of what they want to do, the GOP, is that they still want to have these issues that divide us. They still want to break it out to us versus them. They want to malign the other side. They do not want to allow people to have equal rights or equal rights as much as them. And I would say that would include blacks also. And they really think that this would work. They really thought that this would work, and that somehow, some way, everyone would jump back on the bandwagon and just allow it. Oh, that's just the way things work. But Mike Pence has always been an extremely conservative guy, and this is some of the blowback on this. And we'll see if they actually write the legislation certifying that will not happen whatsoever. Now, the last thing I want to bring up about the whole thing is that there is a whole cadre, there's a whole group, there's a large group of Christian fundamentalists working behind the scenes in the legislatures, with the governors, with all of that, to get this type of legislation going. One of the reasons why they want this legislation going is they've got to have some pushback, because they're pretty sure that they're not going to win on the marriage equality issue. in terms of the Supreme Court that's going to be coming out with a decision on that by I believe, June 30th. So this is, again, another way in which they want to stick it to people because they feel they have a right to discriminate against people. They feel that those type of people shouldn't be allowed to marry. They shouldn't have equal protection. They shouldn't have equal rights. They shouldn't be allowed to see loved ones in the hospital. They shouldn't be allowed to have joint filing of taxes to pass their estate on to their spouse. That's hate. That's what they want. They want to continue that. And because the Supreme Court might allow for gay marriage, which would be the law of the land, they want to find another way to use another backhanded stab to get back at these people and to keep it going. And as I said, there's a large group of Christian fundamentalists with a large group of lawyers behind this whole thing. They really want to do this. Day in and day out, they're looking at legislatures, local, city, county, state, parish, whatever you want to call it. Federal government, they're doing this all the time. And I guarantee you, even if Indiana enacts legislation, rectifying the entire situation. We got Arkansas who's trying to do that. We got Georgia who's trying to do that. There's going to be stuff in all kinds of legislatures, in other legislatures. This is going to continue for a long time because just as the preachers from the pulpit in the South in the 40s, in the 50s, and the 60s quoted scripture verse that God had said that there should be, that there should be no mingling of the races, that they didn't deserve civil rights, they didn't deserve to have equal protection under the law, that this was a white nation, or whatever the stuff they did. Again, they wanted to codify their prejudice into the law, and it's time this stop. And people like Pence, I hope, was exposed enough, and that he is maybe a little bit more than his feelings are a little bit more anti than, let's just say, many of the presidential contenders. Remember, they thought he might be one of those ones that could slide underneath when all the other people did all the damage to each other. And he might even get nominated to be president. And who was the other guy? Kasich. Again, two governors of states that, apparently did well. I think this ruins it completely for Pence. But I would say of the 13 or 14, I don't know how many are out there right now who are truly running for president, their position with Mike Pence is not far off at all. And even though Ted Cruz is backing him full force, Ted Cruz wants to be the furthest to the right because he wants to grab every single of the Christian fundamentalist vote. We'll see how this plays out. I don't think it's going to play out that well, and it might, and again, it could truly bite the Republicans in the ass as they're coming into the 2014 election. And again, I want to bring up just one last point: is I again do not think that there can be a nominee and an elected president of the United States in 2016 who is against gay marriage, who is against climate change. And I can't think of the other one right now. I just pulled a Rick Perry.